Welcome back. Now, the budget vote hangs in the balance. The postponement of the first budget under the GNU in February was a clear indicator that there are cracks in the formation. Fast forward to today, in just under 2 hours, the budget vote is set to take place. But the GNU's biggest partners are still at odds. In the meantime, Action SA has entered the fray while the EFF tries to block the voting process altogether. Political economist Ongama Mtimka joins us to discuss the dynamics playing out in the GNU ahead of the vote and what it suggests about the political and economic landscape moving forward. Ongama, thanks so much for your time this afternoon. So many moving parts, many things happening all at once. I mean, you blink and it feels like you're lost. And I guess let's start with where we are in the process, right? Yesterday, when we went to sleep, we had known that the finance committees approved the fiscal framework. Then we woke up to news of the EFF requesting an urgent withdrawal of that report. Talk to me about what that means and whether it hampers today's process. Could we see a rescheduling of the vote, a postponement of the vote, or is it business as usual come 2 p.m. today?
Good afternoon to you and your viewers. I think the bottom line is that we are uncharted political waters here, wherein the government is not able to agree with its main partner and does something which is unthinkable of trying to secure a vote for the budget outside of the coalition. And that, to me, is the bigger crisis today, because what it means is that either the Democratic Alliance is going to choose to remain in the coalition, notwithstanding this disagreement, which will take a lot for them to do, especially considering the series of political losses that they suffered until this process of the budget, or in fact, it may signal a breaking away. Now, it seems that from both sides, there is a view that come what may, there will be some form of a government of national unity with or without the DA. And I think that this is not the kind of rhetoric that from a political stability point of view and in the short term bodes well for people who are investing in South Africa. Because if it's not the DA today, what issue down the line is going to be brought onto the table of whatever reconfigured GNU that will bring it back to square one? So I think that from a political risk point of view, that's a greater issue that is of concern. The process that the EFF is busy with at the moment, there are conflicting interpretations of it. There's a view advanced by some, especially within the process of making fiscal decisions in South Africa, that committees actually make recommendations which the executive may or may not take, to another one that says, well, from a procedural point of view, and this is the argument the EFF is making, that there's a request in the act for the decision of the committee to be clear, and the clarity of the decision made by the committee yesterday beyond the issue of acceptance is not clear. And I think that whether or not that's got some legal aspect to it, which would be an interesting new dynamic in this whole process, it remains to be interpreted by the legal teams from both sides.
You mentioned, the political dynamics at play at the moment, and I want to touch on, Action SA entering the fray and what that means for the GNU, considering that the ANC is backing a deal, right, of a party that's not even in the GNU.
So, yeah, the issue here is that the ANC mistakenly thinks that cutting deals outside of the formal structure is a good thing. And the reason why they think it's a good thing, it's because, first of all, this is done generally in South Africa, but we are dealing with the national government level coalition here. For them, they are trying to manage a political game here and perception in particular, wherein they feel that the DA is assuming a supervisory posture over economic policy, something that they want to take exception to.
Okay.
And on the side of the Democratic Alliance, they went into this coalition justifying the entry as, in fact, something of coming in so that they could influence the direction of not just policy, but prevent the trajectory of policy that may end up being too radical or irresponsible fiscal policy. Except that the challenge, that what is making the relationship to break down at the moment is not populist policy that is being threatened by the ANC.
Yes.
It's a stance that the DA is taking, which appears a lot more populist, according to some economists who've looked at the numbers, than, in fact, the position that the ANC is holding.
Ongama, just before I let you go quickly, do you expect to see a different kind of GNU coming out of this vote? Do you expect to see the DA walk away if a deal is not struck between the two parties?
The logical conclusion of where the conflict is that. But for players who must consider non-zero-sum outcomes from this process and must consider the greater national good,
Yeah.
there's a case to be made for continuing with the GNU despite this political fray.
Ongama, thanks so much for your time and just sharing your insights this afternoon. That was political economist Ongama Mtimka.